Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, May 9th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Leaders from San Diego County and Mexico are celebrating the newly expanded Tijuana International Airport. KPBS race and equity reporter Cristina Kim says leaders expect the additions to attract more tourism and reduce wait times for passengers using the cross-border express.
Beginning as early as Tuesday, travelers crossing from San Diego County into the Tijuana International Airport on the Cross-Border Express, or CBX bridge, will be greeted by an all-new $100 million facility.
As you cross southbound, you will be in a new facility that is adding more immigration booths, doubling the capacity of customs inspection, and also adding 4 times the capacity of airline ticket counters.
That means passengers can check their bags in Mexico and reduce lines stateside. Passengers like Logan Cretan of San Clemente. We caught up with her as she was waiting in line to check in bags for an annual family trip to Mazatlan. She's used CBX before and is excited about the easier process.
To go through customs now before we get to Mexico is great. And it's like the easiest thing. You just go through it. It feels like you're at an airport terminal.
The airport expansion was funded by the Grupo Aeroportuario del Pacífico, which operates the Tijuana International Airport. It's expected to reduce wait times by 30 to 40%, with the goal of making CBX crossings a maximum of 25 minutes. Guillermo Mir of Orange, California, has used CBX at least 20 times before and also applauds any and all expansions because of the number of people using CBX.
Qué bueno porque sí se necesitan, sí hacen falta. Cruzamos mucha gente por aquí y se pone muy apretado allá para entrar para acá.
But he says the wait times for the U.S. side are still too long. Jorge Goy Tortua is the Cross-Border Express CEO. He says they're already at work on improving the northbound experience, especially as they anticipate 4 million people to cross the CBX bridge this year alone.
Right, so we added more booths here in CBX. Just in February, we opened expanded our new facility, and we have up to 16 inspection booths from 8 that we have in the past. We're bringing more officers soon to also help the demand that we're seeing from our customers.
The expansion also includes 2 new boarding gates and has added several new flights, making it the best connected airport in Mexico for domestic travel. Cristina Kim, KPBS News.
Customs and Border Patrol will no longer use secret units to conduct internal investigations into misconduct by agents. According to a memo released by the agency, they will instead rely on the Office of Professional Responsibility, saying it will ensure accountability. Immigration advocates have accused Border Patrol of using specialized units, sometimes referred to as shadow units, to cover up crimes and excessive force.
What we've seen is that these agencies are not being held accountable. There is no oversight over them, and therefore we see abuses by agencies that are meant to protect or have the purpose of protecting the country, protecting people.
It's not known how many cases have been impacted by these units. According to the CBP's memo, they plan to reassign personnel and train special agents. What that training will look like or what expertise is required is still unknown. The chair of the San Diego County Democratic Party is taking a leave of absence from his position amid allegations of assault. Will Rodriguez Kennedy said in a Facebook post on Friday that someone with whom he was in a committed relationship had made accusations against him. He didn't explain further, but said the accusations were false and the Democratic Party stands united against sexual harassment and assault. He added the County Democratic Party's Ethics Committee will do an investigation following the party's policy policies and procedures, that committee's members would have been appointed by Rodriguez-Kennedy himself. The district attorney's office confirmed the case is under review. Election season is here, and KPBS has launched a resource to help voters make sense of the ballot. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen has the details.
So early voting has begun.
Starting today, San Diegans can drop off their ballots at more than 120 drop-off locations throughout the county.
Our office will be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday for early voting.
Registrar of Voters Cynthia Perez says if you haven't received your voter pamphlet and ballot yet, you should be receiving them this week.
This includes important information about your candidate and contests on your ballot. It also goes over your voting options.
Of course, the question is who to vote for. KPBS has launched Voter Hub online to help you make an informed choice. Just go to kpps.org/voterhub. There you can enter your address or zip code to explore a comprehensive ballot guide with all the candidates and measures in your district. Once you've made your selections, you can print them, have them emailed, or sent to your phone to help fill out your ballot. And take it with you when you go to the poll. The Voter Hub also has a listing of locations where you can drop off your ballot or vote in person. Of course, you can always mail in your ballot.
Your ballot envelope must be postmarked on or before Election Day and received by our office up to 7 days after Election Day to be considered timely cast.
At the Registrar of Voters, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The KPBS Voter Hub is also available in Spanish at the web address on your screen. The battle over abortion rights appears to be heading to the Senate floor. As John Lawrence reports, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced he will be putting up a bill up for the vote sometime this week.
On Sunday, which was Mother's Day, dozens of women in Kansas City protested in support of Roe v. Wade.
Once they take away abortion, they're going to take away birth control. I mean, who knows what comes next? It's a slippery slope.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he plans to file a motion for a procedural vote Monday, which could see a full Senate vote on the controversial issue Wednesday.
I think Roe v. Wade created a constitutional right that doesn't exist in the written Constitution. It's created division from the first day it was decided until now.
The Women's Health Protection Act bill to codify Roe, pushed by Schumer and other Senate Democrats, would need at least 10 Republican votes to overcome a GOP filibuster. Hitting that threshold is unlikely.
If America's people, America's women and men who love them do not fight, right now we will lose the basic right to make decisions, to have bodily autonomy, and to decide what our futures look like.
13 states have so-called trigger laws which would quickly ban abortion if Roe is overturned. One of those states is Mississippi, and its governor, Tate Reeves, says ending Roe would be a big win for abortion opponents.
We're trying to provide those potential expectant mothers the resources that they need so that they can go to a full term of pregnancy. If they choose to keep that child, then that's a great outcome.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Around half of abortions don't happen at a clinic, but at home with a pill. Coming up on Evening Edition, the competing efforts to expand or restrict access to the drug. San Diego County officials say they're ready to help create more homeless shelters across the region. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman says it's up to local cities to join the program.
We're just trying to make it as easy as possible.
Supervisor Nathan Fletcher is unveiling a proposal for city leaders countywide. You provide the shelter space and the county will offer on-site mental health services and public benefits assistance. The county already does this at City of San Diego shelters, but due to the growing need, they want it to be a regional service.
You know, for far too long, everyone has said, hey, we got to deal with homelessness until it comes to actually citing a facility, and then people get awfully squeamish. And the reality is we can't do that.
The Board of Supervisors is also voting next week to allocate $10 million. It would be startup money to help cities launch their own shelter programs. The county says they want to move quickly here and fund proposals that are ready to get people off the streets now. They say a number of cities already have proposals in the works.
National City, Oceanside, Carlsbad, you know, these are cities that are Chula Vista are moving forward with shelter plans. The reality is we need all of them. to be doing that.
Next week, the annual homeless count data is set to be released. Tamara Kohler, who leads the regional task force on homelessness, says in any given city, up to 90% of the unsheltered are from that area.
And they want to stay close to home. So this is why it's so important to cite these in each of our smaller communities, because that's where they last were housed. It's where we have our greatest chance to house them again.
The proposal from the county still requires investments from individual cities. They would need to run or contract out day-to-day shelter operations. That includes intake services as well as providing food, security, and showers. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And now an update on COVID-19 cases in San Diego County. We just got the latest numbers. 516 cases were reported on May 8th, with a high of 914 on May 5th. 13 deaths were also reported since the last update on Thursday. Meanwhile, the White House is warning the U.S. could see a huge wave this fall and winter. Mandy Gaither has more on the latest projections.
A grim projection of potential COVID-19 infections.
If we don't get ahead of this thing, we're going to have a lot of waning immunity. This virus continues to evolve, and we may see a pretty sizable wave of infections, hospitalizations, and deaths this fall and winter.
Looking at a range of models, White House officials estimate 100 million new cases in the U.S. this fall and winter if new funding isn't approved and assuming dramatic new variants don't emerge.
We're going to need Congress's help, and that's one of the key messages here, is we need the resources to fight that battle so we don't have that kind of a fall or winter.
In March, the Biden administration requested more than $22 billion in extra COVID-19 relief money. An agreement was reached on a scaled-back funding package less than half that size. But Congress left Washington in April without passing that bipartisan bill. Without that money, White House officials say the U.S. may not have enough resources to prepare for a surge.
We will not have enough of those vaccines for all Americans. We're going to run out of treatments. We're going to run out of testing.
New daily COVID-19 cases are trending up now in most states. Hospitalizations are up in about half of states compared to last week, including most of the Northeast, but they're still lower than most points of the pandemic. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Children younger than 5 could soon be eligible for a COVID vaccine. The FDA says the authorization could come prior to the target of late June. A spokesperson says the process has taken longer than some expected, since multiple variants were in circulation during the trial period and because it's for small children. According to the CDC, only about 35% of children 5 to 11 who are eligible have been vaccinated. Most San Diego police officers who requested COVID vaccine exemptions due to their religious beliefs gave heartfelt reasons for their requests. But were they genuine? KPBS investigative reporter Claire Tregesser reviewed police responses and found many of them were identical to each other and appear to be copied and pasted from the internet.
The impassioned plea came from a San Diego police officer. He was seeking a religious exemption from taking a COVID vaccine and wrote down his deeply held beliefs. "It is my belief that God knew what he was doing and the body needs no fixing by mankind," he wrote, spelling it mankind with a D. A few sentences later, he also spelled the word hate with a TH. Oddly enough, another San Diego police officer apparently had the exact same religious conviction. The second officer's exemption application included identical wording, complete with the same spelling errors. That's just one example of uncanny similarities found by a KPBS review of 105 religious exemption forms that San Diego Police Department personnel filed with the city. In fact, more often than not, the passages appeared to be copied directly from sample religious exemption requests found on the internet. Despite this, city officials have approved almost all 1,000 vaccine exemptions and only denied 16. Most responses stated that the COVID vaccine is in direct conflict with the Bible and referenced biblical passages. The most common come from 1 Corinthians, such as, "Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst?"
Some of the ways that these texts are used in isolation from the way that they fit Paul's argument for this community in Corinth in the 1st century CE, I think stretch at the boundaries of what's a possible application of this text.
Kara Lyons-Purdue is a New Testament professor at Point Loma Nazarene University. She says searching for specific passages in the Bible to support an argument leads to misinterpretation. Like in the case of 1 Corinthians, the Apostle Paul is speaking to a group.
Arguing against some pretty gratuitous sexual immorality going on in the communities. Here, it's not even food or something that you would consume or a medicine that's in reference. This is talking about sexual immorality.
More than 75% of respondents said their religion did allow them to receive other vaccines like tetanus shots, flu shots, and childhood vaccinations, just not COVID vaccines. When asked why, more than a dozen left the question blank, and 20 said they didn't know. Many others made the argument that only COVID vaccines are derived from fetal cells, which equated to abortion and murder, they said. But the vaccines themselves do not contain fetal tissue, and the Catholic Church supports the vaccines.
If they were taking one of my classes, they would all be, fail the class for plagiarism.
Khaled Alexander is an English professor at San Diego City College and criminal justice reform advocate.
It's blatant and in your face.
The fact that police officers would copy answers from the internet to a question that asked about deeply held personal religious beliefs was disheartening to Alexander. He says it indicates that the police department plays by its own rules.
The lack of consequences for them clearly, copy pasting and finding whatever loopholes they can not to follow the law, calls into question who holds the police accountable.
City staffers who reviewed the requests say language copied from the internet could still reflect someone's personal religious beliefs.
The city did not question the validity or sincerity of employees' stated religious beliefs.
Julie Perez Rasco is the director of the city's Human Resources Department.
Employees' personal, social, or political philosophies are those who reference personal preferences, beliefs, or fears of a secular nature were determined to not qualify as protected religious beliefs.
Staff say it's not the city's role to judge where the wording came from. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
To read more police officers' responses to why they shouldn't have to take a COVID vaccine, you can head to kpbs.org. Gas prices are once again flirting with record highs, and that's adding to inflation headaches. Locally, prices have increased 10 cents over the past 12 days for an average of $5.83 for regular unleaded. The national average rose to $4.33 today. That's just a fraction of a penny shy of the all-time high set on March 11th. And in another blow to the inflation outlook, diesel prices climbing higher, forcing an increase in shipping prices for many goods. California is a national leader in the adoption of rooftop solar, but the state has an incredible potential for even more. An analysis by myarea.com, a consumer comparison research firm, found that nearly 4% of the rooftops capable of having solar actually have it. Industry analyst Corey Colleton says regions that can realize their solar potential can greatly reduce the amount of planet-warming carbon that they put in the air.
By reducing carbon, we would be reducing risk for people for respiratory ailments, for risks from excessive heat and other weather-related, illnesses and deaths.
Hawaii leads the nation with solar panels on 12% of the state's eligible rooftops. Colleton says solar could continue growing at 8% a year if current financial incentives remain the same.
We're looking at a couple of cool and breezy days ahead here across Southern California. Warming up, though, as we head towards next weekend. and there does not look to be any rain in the forecast, at least across Southern California. Places like San Francisco on north may get in on a little bit of wet weather, but here in San Diego, there's none of that in the forecast. Temperatures for your Monday night dropping down into the upper 40s in Oceanside, 45 in Escondido, 41 out towards Ramona, getting down into the low 50s for you into Borrego Springs. Moving forward, our Tuesday is likely going to be another chilly one. Winds are going to be on the breezy side again here for us from Southern California, much through the Four Corners region. Temperatures for many 10 to 20 degrees below normal for this time of year. That marine layer likely going to stay pretty prominent here over the next couple of days with a good amount of morning cloud cover, which could limit temperatures warming too much. But in the afternoon, we should see that sunshine come back out. Temps in Chula Vista right around 67 degrees for your high on Tuesday. Upper 60s into Oceanside, 80s, low 80s at that into Borrego Springs. And as we move into Wednesday, that low drifts even further south, pushing the jet stream into Southern California, and the cooler weather continues here for us as we look ahead to the middle of the work week. Near the coast, you'll notice that the coolest day likely is going to be on Wednesday. Temps only in the mid 60s. We'll keep the breeze on Thursday, but temperatures do begin to warm up back into the upper 70s by Friday and right around 80 as we head into next weekend. Further inland, temperatures bottom out in the 60s on Wednesday. A little bit of a breezy day in the forecast there, though we do warm up significantly moving forward. Thursday and Friday, we're in the 80s. By the weekend, we're up into the 90s. In the mountains, looking to drop into the 40s from Tuesday into Wednesday. Then we rebound into the 50s on Thursday, 60s Friday, 70s as we head into the weekend. And here in the deserts, we look to drop back down into the 70s on Wednesday, upper 80s Thursday, upper 90s Friday, and triple digits as we head into the weekend. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
The fight to stop abortions may be moving from doctors' offices and clinics to the mail service. A research organization that supports reproductive rights says more than 54% of all abortions in the U.S. last year were induced by pills. Anti-abortion lawmakers are already trying to stop people from being able to purchase these drugs. But as Tom Foreman reports, that might be hard to do.
For those intent on ending abortions in parts of the United States, the biggest barrier may now not be politics, but pills, which researchers say are effective, available, and now used for more than half of all abortions.
Abortion activists have been quietly building a whole new business model to target young women on their phones to click, get information, and receive abortion drug by mail.
The Food and Drug Administration approved mail-order supplies of the so-called abortion pills with a prescription this past December for women in the first 10 weeks of pregnancy. Advocates insist it is less invasive, more discreet, and just as safe as surgical abortion.
And oftentimes people choose this for various reasons. They want to be able to manage their abortion in their own home, with their family, and around in a surrounding that they're comfortable with.
We have seen an incredible increase of demand of requests of help. People are really, really scared of what's going to happen.
That's why some abortion rights supporters, such as Women on Waves, based in the Netherlands, say they are already facilitating shipments of the drugs to women in far-flung corners of the U.S. And they're promising to step up the effort no matter where those women are or what state laws say.
What I'm doing is legal under the laws where I work from, and I have a medical oath to do this. I'm a doctor. My oath is that I help people that are in need, and that is what I am doing.
That was Tom Foreman reporting. While states trying to stamp out abortion are writing laws that would attack websites and out-of-state providers shipping these drugs, abortion advocates believe they won't be able to enforce it.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, why Russia is using a World War II remembrance to justify its invasion of Ukraine. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
In a move to help bridge the digital divide, 20 internet companies are providing discounted services for low-income households. 48 million will be eligible for high-speed internet for $30 a month. The $1 trillion infrastructure package passed by Congress last year, including funding that provides $30 monthly subsidies for millions of lower-income households. That effectively makes their internet free if they sign up with one of the newly announced program's providers. Tools developed for genetic research are giving oceanographers a better glance at the diversity of the ocean's basic food web. Scripps Institution of Oceanography's Chase James calls the technique meta-barcoding. He says researchers take samples, filter them, then scan them for DNA from microscopic plants and animals.
If you ever worked in a grocery store and you're, making sure that you're taking stock of your inventory, you would go around and scan all the barcodes in the grocery store, right? And so that's basically what we're doing, but in the ocean.
The results give researchers a more complete picture of the ocean's health. Teams have been collecting samples since 2014, which allows them to see changes over time. Findings are published in the journal Nature Communications. And take a look at this tiny little discovery. Biologists have identified 6 new species of miniature frogs in Mexico. Each of the new species is smaller than a penny when fully grown. These amphibians don't develop from tadpoles. Instead, they emerge from eggs as miniature frogs, and they hide in fallen leaves on forest floors. Scientists from London's Natural History Museum, Cambridge University, and University of Texas collaborated on this discovery. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: by viewers like you. Thank you.